Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I'm doing what I've read over the last 2 weeks. So I didn't do a wrap up last week because we were away on holiday. So this week I'm going to be talking about the books I've read over the past 2 weeks. There's about 5, I think, of them. I've not been reading quite as much because I've been getting the December book buddy box together. That is going to be sent out in the next week. And if you have ordered it, you should be looking out for it over the next few weeks. And also I've been thinking about book buddy box for next year. We sold out the December one, which I'm so excited about, and even sold out a few extras. So I'm not going to be doing a January book buddy box because I'm going to be in New Zealand for Christmas and it would just be pushing things a little bit too much. But there will be a February book buddy box, and I will be putting up the Etsy page for that, so you will be able to buy one in the next couple of weeks. So get in while you can, because although it's not coming to you until February, they do sell out quite quickly. So I'll leave the link down below for that if you are interested. Anyway, let's get into the books that I've read. So as you know, I've been doing non-fiction November, but I've also been doing my NetGalley November, which is where I try and read as many NetGalley books as I can. I'm doing really well with that. I've only been reading NetGalley and non-fiction books. I'm really struggling with reading multiple books at the moment. I was sort of doing that a little bit, and I still listen to audio separately, but I'm struggling a little bit with having more than one book on the go. So it seems to be that I'm sort of reading a few fiction and then a non-fiction, which is fine. But the non-fiction takes me a little bit longer to get through. So anyway, the first fiction book that I've read, and unfortunately because they're all NetGalley copies, I haven't got the physical here to show you, so I've just bought up the front covers so I can show you, is called Masa Nations by Hayley Stone. I was really hoping to enjoy this one. The premise is about, it's set in a world where machines have taken over, they're killing the humans. So in this story, our main character is sort of part of the resistance. She dies and then is brought back as a clone. Her best friend is sort of quite a scientific genius, and he has been cloning her, and she's brought back as a clone, but the cloning process doesn't get time to completely finish, and so she is missing some of her memories, but she sort of knows who she is. And we're sort of following the dynamic of how people feel, how her loved ones feel, you know, the man that she's been in love with, how he feels about this clone, and you know, is it really her, is it not her, the dynamics of that. And that is an interesting part of it, but I felt like we're in the middle of like the apocalypse. Their machines are trying to kill everyone. At every turn there is assassination attempts and battles, and all that our main character is really worried about is this man, and does he not love her anymore. It just grates on me sometimes. There also didn't seem to be enough backstory in this. We didn't get to know really how this war came about. We didn't get enough of finding out, you know, what happened, why did this all come about, what were the stages of this, you know, how was this made possible, and you know, how can it be stopped. And there wasn't enough of this sort of backstory for this for me, and it was just really disappointing, mainly because of this romantic thing that was just too much in there. So I ended up giving this one 2 stars. The next book I picked up was Something in Between by Melissa de la Cruz. So Jasmine de los Santos is Filipino, and because she wants to go to college, she's worked super hard. She's on the cheerleader team. She's doesn't really remember too much about the Philippines. She came over when she was about 5, and she has 2 younger brothers who don't really remember much at all. Because of them coming over, her parents have had to work in more menial jobs. Her mum works at a hospital cleaning, and I can't remember what her dad does. I'm not sure what her dad does, maybe works in a store. But she applies for college. She applies to get a scholarship to college because they can't financially afford it. She wins this big national scholarship, which means she gets to go meet the president, and there's like 12 or something in the whole country that are given out, which is a full scholarship to any university you want to go to. And unfortunately, this is when her parents decide to tell her that they are actually illegal and they haven't got green cards, and so she can't take this scholarship up, or people will discover recover them and they will be sent back to the Philippines. Roll in the son of a prominent political figure who she forms a romance with, and the story progresses from there. Now, I really enjoyed the ideas and the themes in this, and the idea of what it means to not have your green card, and what the prejudices are behind that, and what it means for the people, and the type of fears and things that they must struggle with. What I didn't like about this, and what sort of made it not as good for me, is how it all tied up with a nice little bow at the end, and I felt like her situation was so vastly different to the majority of the population that would ever go through something like this, that it wasn't really giving us a fair representation of the outcomes. Even if that outcome is dismal and not a positive one, I think that still would have created a powerful message. So I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to spoil for you what does happen at the end, but I just I wish that it had ended slightly differently, and for that reason I gave it 3 stars. Next up, I read Firsts by Laurie, I'm trying to get this so you can see it, by Laurie Elizabeth Flynn. Now, this was a bit of a strange book for me. It's about a young girl who is having sex with boys and taking their virginity in order, she feels, to help them give their girlfriends the best first time. So she's coaching them on how to treat the woman or girl, how to make her feel special, how to make that first time special for both of them, and sort of taking away their sort of anxiety with it all. And she genuinely feels like she is doing them a favour. She has a really turbulent home life. She lives with just her mum, who she calls by her first name and was some sort of reality type star who is very absent in her life and we hardly ever see, and she's definitely got some bitterness towards. So she generally just leads her own life, and at school she belongs to sort of a Bible study group with her best friend, and she's very quiet and she's very studious, and no one would ever think that behind closed doors at her house this is what is going on. The boys sort of find out about her by chance or through each other, and it's all kept very hush hush until something happens and it sort of threatens to come out, and then it starts to unravel and we start to learn her backstory. We start to learn how this all came about and what has caused her to feel the way she does. I really liked the way that sex was dealt with this book. It was very realistic. It was very sort of messy and complicated, and not you know, all glowing lights and candles and roses. I thought that was very interesting and very good to see, and I really enjoyed the things that happened at the end and how things wrapped up. I thought that was really positive and interesting. I also really liked the relationships she had with the other girls in this book, her friends. I really liked the relationship she had with the boy in this book. So I really enjoyed it. It was a really fast, easy read, and the only reason I couldn't give it more than 3 stars was that I didn't really connect with her. There was this sort of disconnect I had for some reason, and that's not just because I couldn't put myself in her shoes. The writing didn't make me feel enough with her and connection to her, and also it felt a little bit predictable. So I gave this one 3 stars. I did really enjoy it, but those few things meant that I couldn't give it more than that. Next up, I read a non-fiction book, and that is Becoming by Laura Jane Williams. I picked this book up after meeting Laura randomly at King's Cross train station in London, where she was chatting to a friend about her book. I was eavesdropping and chatted to her afterwards, and so decided that I was going to pick the book up for myself because it sounds interesting. This is the story. This is Laura's story after her boyfriend of a number of years broke up with her and ended up marrying one of her best friends from school. And it's how she went through this emotional, turbulent journey after that, and how she couldn't really find herself. She couldn't really have any proper relationships. She was using men for sex. She was going out and having one-night stands, and she really avoided having any sort of intimate relationships with men. And so she decided that after a while, she was going to be celibate for a year and concentrate on herself and concentrate on what it was she wanted. And it was just a really interesting read. What I really liked about this is it's very honest, it's very raw. She has really looked into herself and looked at the way she behaves, and she's very unapologetic about the way she behaved and the way she is. and I just think that's really really positive. She's not shaming herself for the way she behaved. It's all part of what made her what she is now, and it's all part of that process of growing and learning and loving and opening yourself up to people. And it's really great to go on this journey with her and follow her through the realizations that she comes to. Something that this book has really made me question now is I want to know what Laura's doing now, so I may have to check out, I didn't know she had a blog, I may have to check out her blog. I now follow her on Instagram because I like to see her uploads. I think they're really inspirational, but I think I'm going to have to, I know she's doing a book tour soon, and so I really want to go and try and see her at one of those and hear more, because I want to hear about what happens now. Where is she now? What's going on with her now? I feel like we know her, I feel invested in wanting her to do well, and I'm really looking forward to hopefully finding out more about what's going on with her. So as you can tell, I really enjoyed this and I gave it 4 stars. And then finally this week I picked up Homegoing by Yar Jessie, which has been doing the rounds on BookTube, and so I thought it was about time I picked it up, and I had it from NetGalley. This story is getting an awful lot of hype. It's getting lots of 5-star reviews from people, and this got me really excited to give it a go for myself. It's a multi-generational story that's following the bloodlines of 2 half-sisters. These 2 half-sisters don't know each other. They are born in different villages in the 18th century in Ghana. One is married off to an Englishman who is a slaver, and the other one is captured and taken as a slave and brought over to America. The sisters never know each other, but we follow each of their bloodlines along a number of years, and we at each turn we learn more about lots of different topics. I mean, there is lots of topics covered here. We're looking at slavery, missionaries, tribal culture, racism, dope houses, coal mines, and lots more. I really enjoyed how this book flowed seamlessly through the different people and the different characters. It really flowed nicely. You didn't feel like you were jumping and it was jolty. It flowed nicely through different timelines, and I think the one thing I had was that I just wanted more. I wanted more at the end. As the characters progressed, I felt like we got to know them less and less, and in less depth, and I really wanted to know their characters, because obviously as we're going through the characters we're still getting information because they discuss their grandparents and their parents, so we're still seeing more of each of those original characters in every subsequent chapter, whereas you know, our very final 2 people, or our very final people, we get a very small amount of information on them, and I just wish I'd had a little bit more time with those and it had been slightly longer at the end and I could have got to know them ever so slightly better. But the fact that I was left wanting more is just a sign of a good writer, and I really look forward to trying more by this author in the future. So I really enjoyed this and I gave it 4 stars. So that's what I've read over the last few weeks. I'm currently working my way through a non-fiction book, and then I'll be moving on to another NetGalley book until the end of the month. So I will wrap up again with you next week on what I've read. Have you read any of these? Did you have any similar thoughts, any differing thoughts? Let me know, and keep your eyes peeled for the Book Buddy box for February, which will be going up on my Etsy page really soon. Bye for now, BookTube.